Presidential race 83 days out. We're joined by Nathan Hochman, who is running for LA County District Attorney as an independent. In the past, you ran for California Attorney General as a Republican. We know Kamala Harris was the District Attorney as a Democrat. We know Kamala Harris in the past has endorsed George Gascon for various offices, who you're running against. So make some news for us. Who are you endorsing in the presidential race?
So I will be endorsing Kamala Harris in the presidential race. I didn't vote for Donald Trump in 2016, 2020. I won't be voting for him in 2024. I'll be voting and supporting Kamala Harris. I actually announced when President Biden was the nominee that I was going to support him. But, you know, my whole point of this race is to take politics out of the DA's office. And though I'm happy to answer this question about the presidential politics, my goal is to go back to what DAs used to do. They used to just look at the facts and the law, but George Gascon has introduced his far-left, extreme, pro-criminal political ideology to make criminal justice decisions, and that is actually what's been wrong with the DA's office in Los Angeles.
Go ahead.
Well, my follow-up is, you know, you want to take politics out of the DA's office. Your big announcement tonight is that you're throwing your support behind Kamala Harris. As mentioned, she was the Attorney General as a Democrat. She was the District Attorney as a Democrat in San Francisco. What is it about her specifically in her record that you like, and what would you do differently as DA?
So I've always voted the person over the party. In fact, my background is 20 years a Democrat, 20 years a centrist Republican, and now I'm an independent running for a nonpartisan position where party affiliation won't even be on the ballot. And so if I had to choose in this race between a former prosecutor and a convicted felon, I'm going to choose the former prosecutor because that's the job I'm seeking. I'm seeking to be a prosecutor, the DA, the person who will be in charge of 750 deputy district attorneys, doing 180,000 criminal cases every year in this county. So in that choice, I will choose the former prosecutor.
What did you think of the way she was as a prosecutor? Are there lessons that you could learn of things that you would like to do yourself as a DA? Are there things that you would not like to do, that you disagreed with what she did?
Well, I think one of the programs that she actually did that has since been discontinued is a program called Abolish Chronic Truancy. And the idea was that you bring the DA's office in with the schools and the parents and the students to get chronically truant students who are missing weeks or months of school, get their parents involved to make sure those kids get an education. Because if you don't get an education in our society, it is a recipe for a lifelong failure. So she actually brought that program in. It's a program that I would sort of reamp up in Los Angeles County to make sure that the DA plays a role with the schools and parents to get those kids back in school.
There's no question you've made it part of your campaign that on day one, if you become District Attorney of LA County, you are going to reverse the blanket policies of George Gascon. The other thing to consider, though, is that you're going into an office that is in a lot of disarray. I mean, just today there's the news that another prosecutor has filed suit against Gascon for retaliation reasons. John McKinney has been on the show. He's a deputy DA. He's thrown his support behind you, not his own boss. Do you look at that disarray as an advantage or more of a non-advantage to take over the office and bring cohesion?
So it's an advantage in the race. 98% of those 750 deputy district attorneys voted to support their boss's recall. That's shocking. That's never happened before. He's facing over 20 different lawsuits of retaliation by his own employees. That is a record as well. But I view that I've actually gotten the endorsement of the union that represents them. I've spoken to over 300 of these deputy district attorneys, and I will tell you that they are looking for the opportunity to do their job again. George Gascon literally has not listened or learned to these people from these people for 3.5 years. I have told them that they are the greatest asset of a DA's office, that my job is to maximize the greatest asset of that office and give them the training, the support, the credit that George Gascon denies them every single day.
So you're running against an incumbent. Talk about where you're at. You've done your own polling recently. You've raised a lot of money. How do you see the state of this race? What is your polling showing?
So we're in an excellent position right now. Our polling is showing if the election was tomorrow, we would win by over 15 points. Now, we treat that on my team as if we're 15 points down. because we're going to work incredibly hard until November 15th. But part of the reason we're 15 points up is, and it's reflected in the fundraising. We've raised over $1.6 million. George Gascon has raised $166,000. I have endorsements from over 70 elected leaders across this county, half Democrats, half independents. I've got endorsements from my opponents, almost all Democrats. We're trying to run a bipartisan campaign because the message is, again, when it comes to your safety, it's not about politics. It's the person who will have the experience, and I have 34 years of criminal justice experience. George Gascon has never personally prosecuted or defended a criminal case in his life, and he's got a record of public safety failure, and I have a blueprint for justice that will get the job done.
One of the issues that you've taken up is something that we talked about just yesterday here at 6 o'clock. Johnny Wactor, the killing of him in downtown Los Angeles. His mother, Scarlett, was on the show last night with Alex. She was mentioning how she hasn't been told a lot, but there are some hints that they are closer to getting these two suspects behind bars. You were out there at this Justice for Johnny yesterday as well. Why is this important for you to get behind, and how is DA Gascon handling it?
I mean, it's an absolute tragedy, because what should have been happening is that we should have told people who are stealing catalytic converters to begin with that they will be held accountable for their actions. George Gascon hasn't held any of those catalytic converter thieves responsible for their actions, which has emboldened them to do it again. In Johnny Wactor's case, unfortunately, the person actually took out a gun and shot him when he confronted the thief as he was stealing the catalytic converter in downtown LA. My job, the reason I show up for the Justice for Johnny Wactor rallies is to tell them that if I'm the DA, we will go ahead and again hold criminals accountable for their actions.
Another question. Yesterday, we saw big protests on the 405 freeway. We saw a lot of folks out there tying up traffic for tens of thousands of people for hours.
More than 20,000 estimated.
We saw something similar on the San Francisco Bay Bridge.
The Golden
Gate Bridge. The DA there is now pursuing felony charges against those folks. Would you pursue felony charges against the folks that are shutting down the freeway?
Here's my view on this overall subject. I'm a big believer in the First Amendment. If someone wants to get on a street corner and shout things that I find reprehensible, that's their right, and I will protect that right. But when the words turn into illegal conduct, that's when the DA needs to get in front of it, be proactive, and say, look, if you want to shut down a freeway, you're going to jail. You want to shut down LAX, you're going to jail. You want to deface a college campus, you're going to jail. And if you want to engage in violent acts in front of a synagogue, you're going to jail. If a DA gets in front of it and sets these clear lines down, it'll set the deterrence to make sure that these protesters understand where the lines are. By staying silently on the sidelines, as George Gascon has done, he's only emboldened these protesters to commit more and more illegal conduct.
In other words, consequences matter.
And of course, we've invited George Gascon to have this debate, to literally have a debate on our set with you. You've accepted our invitation. George Gascon so far has denied our invitation. We've invited George Gascon to come on the 6th for a one-on-one interview to express his views. So far, he's denied that invitation as well. We'd love to hear from him. We welcome a variety of perspectives here, but we give you credit for showing up and actually sharing your views, and we hope he will do the same, because it's important for our viewers to hear about these big issues that really matter to people.
I couldn't agree with you more. I would say that on the ballot November 5th, there's going to be a president, there's going to be a Senate election, but the election that will affect people's safety more immediately for them and their family is the DA election. The problem with Gascon, the reason he doesn't want to show up today or any time, is that he can't defend the indefensible.
Well, we appreciate you being here.
Nathan Hochman, thank you. LA County District Attorney candidate, thanks so much.
Thank you.